human is.
There's a problem in the Muslim community.
And then they have to stop me and every Muslim in the entire airport.
Is it fair or is it unfair?
In general, the system is just not fair.
You got me there.
My name is Michael Sandel. I teach political philosophy at Harvard University. For me, philosophy is not just an academic subject. It doesn't just reside in the heavens beyond the world. It belongs in the city where citizens gather. Is discrimination always unjust? How should we deal with inequalities of income and wealth? Should national borders matter?
We are going to build a great border wall.
These are dangerous times for democracy. We're here in Greece at the sanctuary of Amphiarios. Not far from here, democracy was born, and so was Western philosophy. We've gathered a group of young people from around the world, and in the spirit of Socrates, we're going to engage in some lively debates about the big questions facing our societies.
You and I, we don't have the same chances when we are born.
Can we take care of everybody?
Yeah, you can. You should.
We need to find a way to reason together about hard moral questions. And above all, we need to ask ourselves, what is the right thing to do? Cristiano Ronaldo is a great football player. But is it fair that he earns 2,000 times what a school teacher makes? At a time of rising inequality and growing resentment against elites, we need to ask, how should a just society deal with inequalities of income and wealth? Imagine a society in which the following distribution of wealth existed. Let's suppose that there were 8 very wealthy people who among them had as much wealth as the bottom half of the entire population put together. Would that be a just society? How many say yes? How many would say no? How many would consider that unjust?
It might be just, because I think it would depend on how they got to where they were and if there's a fair starting place.
Let's take that up. But before we do, it's worth pointing out that this hypothetical example is actually the world in which we live. Now, Ignatius says we need to know more in order to know whether this is a just or unjust arrangement. So let's get more concrete. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's a very good football player. And he's paid pretty well. Do you have any idea how much he makes?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
It's over 80 million a year. And Lionel Messi isn't far behind. Now, how much does a school teacher make on average? Anybody?
40,000.
30,000 a year?
Around 35,000, 40 euros, something like that. How many would say that Ronaldo deserves to make 2,000 times what a school teacher makes? Okay, 5 people say yes. How many say no? The rest of you say no. Alfie,
I think
why
the
not?
word deserve is key in that he doesn't deserve it. It might be a kind of a byproduct of a functional system.
A functional system. When you say functional system,
well, okay,
you mean fair?
A function of a system.
Yeah. Is it fair or is it unfair?
Well, it's unfair, but then there's the binary of fair and unfair is quite a limiting one in an argument, in that it might be a more fair system than another system that has necessary inequalities.
Let's first start by seeing what people think. Is this a fair arrangement? Derek, what do you say?
I don't think it's fair, and the reason I'd say it's not fair is it's a matter of how much relational wealth that the teacher has. So if the teacher didn't have any need for more wealth, then it would be fine because the teacher wouldn't really need any more. And then you could give, the richest person whatever they want.
What do you think, Rita?
Well, I'm a school teacher.
Okay.
So
All right.
and I said, well, I think he deserves what he earns because I think he has exceptional talent. And I think he has an exceptional talent that's valued in our society right now. And that's more of the pragmatic approach and maybe not so much a moral approach saying that it's fair or unfair. I'm just saying that's how it is. And I have my talents and I have my needs taken care for. And I don't really feel that my value is diminished by him earning so much.
But does the best teacher get as much as Ronaldo gets?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean...
But can the best teacher inspire as many people as Ronaldo can?
What do you think?
Yeah, more. Are the responsibilities of a teacher the same as the responsibilities of Ronaldo?
Exactly.
And that's the fact that I say, that the word deserve is quite, is difficult to say whether he deserves it or not.
Yeah.
He's good, yes, he earns a lot, okay. Yeah. But I would like to see it more equally because the responsibility for a teacher working on the future of this planet is more valuable than his soccer skills.
I feel with Ronaldo, he brings so much hope through the whole world with his talent. So he may not be a teacher, but for a little kid to grow up and become a soccer player, he brings that value of hope. And that value of hope, you can't teach in a school. You got to experience those type of feelings.
Natalie.
You could bring hope, but I don't think you should make 2,000 more than a teacher or a social worker. I'm a social worker, and I feel that I put every day as much as I can into my work, into my clients, and I believe that that's as valuable as somebody playing soccer every day. It's a game. It's a soccer game.
Okay, Marcus, go ahead.
The amount of money that he makes directly for his club and for Nike as an ambassador and as a marketing asset, I think is what makes him so valuable.
Well, it makes him valuable, though Hajar said a moment ago that what a teacher does actually is more valuable than even being a great soccer player. What do you say to that argument?
No, and I agree.
You do agree?
I agree with her, 100%. You cannot disregard the importance of education, I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How teachers inspire and give people tools to be able to function in the modern economy. I'm not saying discounting that as being important.
But Ronaldo does the same for soccer play. I mean, he
motivates,
but he motivates a lot of children to go to sport, to football, to try to make a career. I mean, that's, I think, as important as a teacher does, and on a different level. On a different level, yeah.
Really?
Well, no, not as important, but we shouldn't underestimate the power of the sport or what he is doing, actually.
And not underestimate the power of a teacher. Yeah. Because I can aspire, as a teacher, I can inspire so many kids. I can give knowledge to so many kids. I can share my skills with so many kids. So I don't think that is a very good comparison.
But there are so many teachers, I mean, sorry to say that, but they can be replaced. But like such good football players, they come only once in a while.
So it's about replacement.
Well, no, it's not about replacement, but he is much more valuable, to the sport, I guess. Because there are so many teachers, and the teachers keep on coming.
The one is more valuable to the sport, and the other one is more valuable for the planet.
Yeah, I guess.
What about that, Danny? More valuable to the sport, more valuable to the planet. Or to the community.
Yeah, that's a very good one.
You were saying earlier, Ronaldo gives people hope. What kind of hope does he give people? That they too will grow up to be Ronaldo?
Yeah, that they can be everything they want to be in life.
Nobody can become Ronaldo because he was born that way. With
No.
that talent.
It's not talent. It's talent. It is hard work. It's dedication. It's everything you put in.
And a basic talent. A basic talent.
But no, it's not basic talent. And it's the sacrifices he made. He left his home when he was 11. 11 years old.
So did my cousin, played in the youth academy of Ajax, did not make it. Same sacrifices, just less talented. Not everybody who enters a soccer youth academy at 11 will grow to be Cristiano Ronaldo. They will also end up
but
right back.
It's not the talent, it's the dedication, it's the work you put in. And maybe he was not that good enough.
No, that's my
Yeah,
own.
that's the
IMP.
talent. That's the talent.
Very good, very good.
All right, so here we have a battle or debate about whether Ronaldo deserves to make 80 million because of his talent or because of his effort.
If a teacher makes the same kind of effort,
Yeah.
I can imagine quitting something at 11 and working really hard, becoming a teacher,
Yes.
and doing the same thing. You won't make 2,000 more than a school teacher.
So effort is just a small part of it. And are you really saying to IMP, for most kids...
It's false. It's false hope.
It's false hope. What about that?
No, it's not false hope.
How many people will actually grow up to be as good as Ronaldo? How many?
A few.
A few.
A few.
Then why isn't it false
But
hope?
it's the road too. If you don't have the talent to become as good as Ronaldo and be a top player at Real Madrid, you can be another player at another soccer team or do another.
You shoot
Only
for
a small handful, though.
You shoot
That's
for the
Caroline's
stars
argument.
and you hit the moon, maybe. But if you shoot for the moon, you might just fall back down, you know, and get nothing. And hope is universal, can transfer to different disciplines, different, you know, career paths.
I think one of the things that I learned when I moved to the US is it's one of the countries with the most blatant social inequalities I've lived in, and yet you have a very strong feeling of this American dream that anybody can make it, and it got me thinking. You know, it's clearly I think it's a fallacy. Not everybody can make it. Not everybody has the same starting conditions, but there's this hope somehow that if I work just as hard as the guy who has that big car and the big house next to me, I'll make it too.
Right.
But I think that is a way for people to accept those inequalities. And yes, the respect I have for Ronaldo is that he came from a very modest background, but the hope that he conveys is very dangerous.
So it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think it keeps people in a situation where they don't go after social inequalities. They blame themselves for not making it the way others made it.
Ik was heel erg in de veronderstelling en van mening dat je het zelf in de hand had, dat je eigenlijk je eigen lot kon bepalen. En toen werd mijn vader heel erg ziek en hij was een enorme aanhanger van dat idee, dat je echt zo'n bedrijf opgericht in de jaren 80 en dan, weet je al, dat je alles wel kan doen. En in ieder geval dat heb ik ervan begrepen dat hij dat bedoelde. En toen werd hij ziek en toen dacht ik, er zijn dingen waar je helemaal niks aan kan doen. Dat is gewoon genetisch bepaald of je een bepaalde celdeling hebt of niet. En dat kun je eigenlijk terugbrengen ook naar je geboorte. Of je wordt geboren met een goed stel hersens. Of benen die heel snel kunnen rennen. Of een perfect symmetrisch gezicht. Daar heb je helemaal niks voor hoeven doen. En dat je daarna hard moet werken om te zorgen dat je iets bereikt, dat zeker. Het is niet zo dat als je snel geboren wordt, dat je dus ook meteen die wedstrijd kan winnen of Ronaldo kan zijn. Je moet er wel voor trainen, maar dat neemt niet weg dat geboortepunt heel essentieel is voor wat je bereikt. En zeker in deze maatschappij.
Ik vind hoop belangrijk, omdat ik 2 jaar van mijn leven in de gevangenis heb gespendeerd en hierdoor ook heel erg hoop nodig had. Mijn hoop kwam niet in de vorm van een voetbalster als Ronaldo, maar de hoop kwam in de vorm van mijn zoon die geboren zou moeten worden. En doordat zijn geboorte kwam, dat heeft mij hoop gegeven in het leven van oké, je kan je leven omdraaien en veranderen en je kan er echt wat van maken. En daarin is hoop eigenlijk een essentieel onderdeel geweest.
Dat er hoop in een samenleving moet zijn, daar geloof ik heel erg in. Of Ronaldo die per se kan bieden, weet ik niet. Ja, als een van de mensen. Maar ik denk dat een goede schoolleraar op school ook hoop, misschien op kleiner niveau, maar dat ook kan bieden.
I think that we're leaving, and we're sort of touching upon it, a very important part of the equation, which is where this wealth is coming from. And that wealth is coming from people who earned it through work. It's not coming from the fairy godmother and then let's distribute this to who we think is most fair. And this idea of deserving, think of what we all got, what we think we deserve. Like, that would be ridiculous. So it comes from the market, and the market votes on what they think is most valuable. And assuming we have a fair starting point, fair laws, then, you know, we need to be free to succeed, but also free to fail.
Let's talk about starting points. What is a fair starting point? Let's imagine there are policies and institutions in place to help kids from poor families to get really the same education that kids from rich families get, same cultural opportunities. So we bring everyone up to the same starting line. And then we start the race. Now, we've been discussing talents. We've heard a lot about talents. Who would win the race?
People who I think have the most talents, put in the most hard work, save the most, and acquire the most skills.
But
those
running,
are
we're just talking about a race now. Running.
Oh, running literally a race?
Yeah, running a race.
It would be all
Nora.
the youngsters. Just
the young
people.
Well, not.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
who would win among them? Who would win among them?
Anyone with the most innate
physically,
physical ability.
Yeah.
Okay.
The most innate physical ability.
The most
They're gonna win.
innate. Wait. So Marcus says those with the most innate physical ability, the fastest runners.
Yeah, the ones who were born with the.
Who were born.
Yeah.
If it's a matter of luck, then how is it possible to say that the winners of such a race, even a fair race, same starting point, how can we say that the winners morally deserve the winning?
You can't.
We can't.
You can't.
Well, you can because they're provided the same opportunities from the starting point.
No,
I think that's the assumption that we have factored in.
No, because they were born differently, right?
It's the luck of the draw, Caroline says.
If you are born with the same opportunities, you're still not born with the same talent. So the people who, you can say, yeah, if you work hard, then you'll be able to achieve something. But if you're born with just physically a more advantaged position, then you will be able to run faster.
What about that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, there isn't. But then saying that the person who wins, deserved to win because he worked harder, that's not fair.
I think the term deserved, I think we're keying on that too much, and I don't think.
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out.
Well, it's true.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
But at least we're running. Sorry.
Well, what we deserve is what we can achieve in the world, I think. It's like a personal thing, and it's not necessarily connected to everyone else.
No, but there's two assumptions, I think. One assumption is that everybody's running his own race, which is, I think, regarding the goal, as a human population, we would be far better off in collaborating. And second is that there's a defined finish. So the finish is, the winner is the one who has the most money standing on the top. And I think if you look at that, that from a basic perspective, that we are as strong as the weakest link.
I want to bring Anna in. Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, like, we keep talking about fairness, but if you compare this to, like, evolution, like, nature is not fair either. And we create a system that we want to be more fair than nature. So we have to think about, like, what are values worth and what do we want to collaborate on. But I think in general the system is just not fair. Yeah. And it's impossible to create a system that's completely fair. We should just be able to value stuff that we find valuable as a population in total.
I'm going to jump in here because this example you're mentioning about running sounds like a classic example of gender inequality. The winner of that race is very likely to be a man. Yes. So what do we say? That we had all the same starting points, but then men are worth more than women in that experiment? Same here with nature. Given the society that we've built, do we then say that people with the most physical strengths, because it's nature, are more valuable to society? I think we have reached a level where we have the chance that we can set the same, not the same starting condition and the same tests condition for everyone, but that we're able to find for everyone a differentiating role. So that in your example, I think the problem in your example is that you set the same standard for everyone. It's who gets
same
first.
Starting point.
Yeah, no, same starting point, but also same evaluation criteria for everyone.
Crossing the finish line.
Crossing the finish line first. And then by doing that, you discriminate against people who will not be able to meet that.
And how would you solve that?
You should have 10 different
competitions.
10 different competitions.
Yeah, an Olympics.
Just trying to create equality, I think, is just a failing goal. The only thing we're equal in is dignity. Beyond that, it's free for all.
Natalie.
I think the stronger people have to help the weaker people. That's what I think. I believe that's a fair society.
When you hear about a football player making like 80 million a year, it's a lot of money. It's the kind of money that makes you think, well,
money gets you what you want and what you need, and once you've gotten everything that you actually need and a bunch of things that you want, and you still have a lot, which is just a number or papers or whatever, why not share it with the people that don't even have what they need to get by?
The winners of those multiple events win not just because of factors that are their own doing, but due to luck. And if we reject feudal societies because they allocated opportunities and income and wealth based on the accident of birth, if we all agree that's unjust, why is a society that rewards gifts, talents, luck, why is that any more fair than an aristocratic society where your place in life depends on the accident of your birth?
I wonder, there are a few distinctions made. The first distinction you just made is what's the difference between aristocracy, so where you're born into a certain position, and then meritocracy, where you're valued for your talents.
Right.
There isn't any, it's just a different factor we attribute wealth to.
A different basis for inequality.
Basis. Thank you very much.
So Philip, wait, I just want to make sure that I understand what Philip is suggesting. That morally there's no difference between a feudal aristocracy and a meritocracy where income and wealth go to those who happen to have the talents that society happens to value. They are both equally morally arbitrary. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Now that's a pretty thoroughgoing, maybe shocking claim. Nora?
Love the idea, like trying to compare that way, basically both are wrong. But in a meritocracy, I basically see it that there's an end goal and there's progression. There's trying to get somewhere and basically extract the best from the people, and that's why you give them rewards.
Because people can work hard to rise, to improve their condition.
And
but
improve the whole planet as a whole.
What about that, Philip?
Well, I think if you look at socioeconomic mobility in a lot of these meritocracies, they're absolutely flatlining. Education in Mr. Sandel's country is, with the exception of a few scholarships, based on the purchasing power of your family and not necessarily so on
I don't know. I see different than that in the statistics. I see that if you have areas of like wealth, what's it called? Like the brackets of wealth, you see people moving in and out of the different brackets all the time. There's actually a study that shows that an heir 3 times, like 85% of the time, loses all of their money from the family, and they fall back down to lower bracket.
Someone who inherits.
Right, and some people might sell a house one year and they go up on a different level, and then down the next. So I think there's extreme mobility of individuals, but we tend to think of it as just one snapshot picture, that it's always frozen like this, and the percentage is always distributed the same way, overall average, but the individuals are moving in and out, even though the percentages are the same.
People rise and fall.
Right.
Tristan?
Well, the gap between the people at the top and the bottom of that's increasing more lately than it's been for decades or a century or more, and that was the whole starting point. People are still moving up and down, but going from the bottom to the top is you either win a lottery ticket or it's never happening.
And you think it's like winning a lottery ticket to land on top?
Yeah, I mean, unless you're
10%.
Elon Musk and happen to invent something insane that takes you from a standard family to the top of the world, I mean...
Yeah, but look at how he did it. I mean, the guy, he was smart. He made a strategy. He really made sure that he had a great plan to get there. It wasn't just working hard, it was working smart, acquiring skills, saving. It doesn't happen by accident. It's not just by luck.
No, because how did he get so smart? He was born with a good sense of...
Well, he was born reasonably smart. He's up there, but I'm sure if you got an IQ test, there's tons of people that are very, very smart, but they don't make as much money. It's the collaboration, the way he synthesized all of his talents into his actions that got him where he was. And to say it's based on luck, I think it's insulting. Don't take it personally, but someone who has that perspective, I think it's insulting when you see how hard these people work. Like just being an entrepreneur, I know how hard it is to kind of get ahead of the curve and find that next product and always be chasing the trends so that you can be on the frontier of possibilities and be able to offer something to the market that's fresh and new.
Caroline, what do you say?
I think it's a way of keeping people who are not going to achieve that Elon Musk sort of ideal happy, because you keep thinking that you can achieve that.
No,
whereas
like,
I don't think it's possible, because if you're born with a certain, you say, you know, the talent, and then he has all these other things that he combines. But all of those things, he was born with those as well. The ability to work hard.
He had access to discover that he has it also,
yeah.
You know, because it's about having access to discovering your talents and your strong points. There are so many places in the world where there are people with all sorts of talents who will never get to discover those talents because they have nothing to trigger them, you know? And that's about access. So
healthy.
Inequality is woven into the fabric of everything. And when people talk about inequality, what they mean is income inequality. But Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, didn't have the good fortune to not have an alcoholic dad or anything. So there's inequality in terms of the love you might receive from a parent. We'll all be kind of victims of some form of inequality, but inequality in and of itself is fair because it's part of the fabric. And you have different drivers for things like being a nurse or being a banker. So you might have income inequality in those two jobs, but you've also got sort of satisfaction and well-being and not being told you're scum inequality as well.
The dignity
so
side, yeah.
You need those two different things because people are going to get different things and people will go into different jobs for different reasons.
Vincent.
Well, I think if we argue about inequality, I think you're absolutely right. It's just a matter of fact that this world you're born with different talents. But what if we move beyond that morality of inequality? If we just look, I think that running track is actually a great metaphor of progression.
You think it's a good metaphor? Hisham was saying he thinks it's a bad metaphor.
No, I think it's great. I think it's great because you can either give people, something at the start and just distribute everything equally, or you can have them make them run, and then that stands for progression, that stands for development, that stands for creating something yourself, and that stands for a greater common good. So, and what's the morality of not allowing that, of a lesser common good?
Tristan.
I think the actual morality is less, say, the starting point for the race or the quality somebody might have had that got them to the end, whether they were born with it or worked very hard, but can actually be measured by how we're going to treat the losers of the race.
Exactly.
I mean, it's great that you're at the top.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, wait. So finish that thought, Tristan.
Well, it's just like we're looking for a just society or the measure of success and everything. We've been focusing on the people that are at the top of that. And I mean, we'd all like to be there, but we may not have the talent or anything else. I'm sure all of us will stay roughly in the middle or wherever it is we're at. But how we take care of our prisoners, the worst of society, how we treat them and give them their basic needs.
Well, if we take Caroline's idea that it's a matter of luck that they won that race, it's not mainly their own doing, then should they conclude that this pot of money I won isn't really mine, it's really a common possession? Yeah. What do you say to that?
I think the just society would, while it's organizing the race, afford them less of a pot so that everybody who starts the race has a little bit of participation money.
I see.
So we want to be all fast runners, so maybe value these fast runners a bit more. And you get that through a race. You don't necessarily have to have the one winner, you could have the 10 winners top, but getting everyone through the line at the same time would not really bring us anywhere forward.
De race vond ik eigenlijk best een hele goede metafoor. Ik wilde daar de hele dag heel graag over zeggen dat niemand aan het begin van in deze metafoor heeft niemand honger. Dus iedereen begint wel fit. En dat lijkt me al een prachtige. Als je alleen maar daar al bent, aan die startlijn, dan wat mij betreft is het daarna een soort van pret.
I don't come from a privileged family. And because of that, I think America is one of the best places where I can have a chance at being more successful and rising up. And the reason why is because America has certain values. They have values in rugged individualism, where you pull up your own bootstraps and you're ready to do the grit, and when you do the work, it's rewarded in a system with your own merit. And that's why I support a system of meritocracy. And I think it's the best way to lessen the poverty in the world.
Ik denk wel dat Amerikanen heel anders in dit gesprek staan, omdat ze volgens mij door de samenleving veel meer geïndoctrineerd worden met het idee van die American Dream. En dat alles maar kan als je hard je best doet. En dat zie je aan Ignatius ook. Die is er echt van overtuigd dat hij Elon Musk is. Of dat hij dat in ieder geval kan zijn. Ik denk dat dat niet kan. Misschien wel. Maar de kans is groter dat het niet zo is dan dat het wel zo is. En ik denk dat Hisham had een heel goed punt daarin. Dat het houdt de massa rustig als je ze blijft vertellen dat ze alles kunnen zijn wat ze willen worden. Want als je gaat vertellen, voor jou gaat het niet mogelijk zijn, het is gewoon pech, zit er niet in, ja, dan krijg je onvrede en woede.
People have pointed out two different sources of the moral arbitrariness of a meritocratic society, one that rewards talents. One source of arbitrariness was raised by Caroline, that who has what talents, that's largely the luck of the genetic lottery, the accident of birth, being born a fast runner. And then a second element of moral arbitrariness is what values the society happens to have. We live in a society, and Ronaldo's lucky to live in a society that loves football. But if he lived in ancient Athens, he wouldn't make so much money. They valued other things there. Even never mind the comparison of a football player to a teacher or a social worker, that's admittedly difficult. But take another athlete. I read about the world's greatest arm wrestler. And this arm wrestler won every match. The best arm wrestler in the world. I don't even remember his name. Now, is that his doing? Is it Ronaldo's doing that he lives in a society that loves football? No, so this is a second form of arbitrariness that has come up. So, the arbitrariness of talents and the moral arbitrariness of whose talents happen to be prized in a society. I'd like to test that idea of a meritocracy, rewards according to talents, in the following way. Imagine first a perfect meritocracy where we overcame all barriers of race, class, gender, ethnicity, where all rewards perfectly corresponded to talents. A perfect meritocracy. That's scenario one. Scenario two is a perfect lotocracy. By lotocracy, I mean, this is an invented word. Don't worry if you haven't heard it before. It's where you land, how much money you make, your social position depends on a lottery, the luck of the draw. In which of these societies would you rather live if you found yourself on top, if you were rich? Would you rather look around and say, I'm rich because I'm talented? Or would you rather look around and say, I'm rich because I won the lottery? How many would rather live in the meritocracy? And how many in the lotocracy? All right, those who would rather live in the meritocracy, why would you, if you were on top? Why would you rather live there, Caroline?
Because I could bash all the people who didn't make it. I can be like, yeah, this is my doing, yeah.
This is my doing.
Yeah.
But if you were poor, which of these societies would you like to live in? How many would prefer looking around and saying, oh, it's all by luck, it's all a lottery? If you were poor.
Lotocracy.
Lotocracy. Why in that case?
Because then I couldn't help anything. It would just be the draw of the...
The luck of the draw.
The luck of the draw, yeah.
Makes you feel better.
Makes you... Wait,
Yeah.
wait, explain.
It makes you feel better about yourself because you feel like you did all you could and it's not up to you, you know?
It's not up to you.
Exactly.
It's the luck of the draw.
Exactly.
So if you were poor, it'd be easier to live in a society that recognized that it's just a matter of luck.
But wouldn't that create a very passive society?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it would.
Apart from the fact that you change your lot every year, so you don't start telling yourself a story, oh, I made this, I deserve this, I own this, you also get more empathy or understanding of people in other positions. So I think it's a nicer idea than what we live in now.
That would make, you think, Philip, for a better society?
I think so, because people would be less arrogant or presumptuous about where they are, because they're more aware of the fact that it's trivial. They would also change their surroundings, so you would get greater...
It's not trivial, it's contingent.
Contingent, sorry. Yeah.
But isn't a part of society not so much where you land, but what you do with the position you have?
So that's why I said roughly, because we're talking in a binary thing now where it's either or. So I understand that in both situations there is a small level of responsibility you can take, but that's a very hard area to distinguish.
Derek.
In a meritocracy, you do what society values, right? It's not necessarily what your talents are. Maybe I might be Ronaldo, but I actually want to be an artist. But I need to do what Ronaldo does, right? Because then that's what society values. I would never choose to be the artist. But if it was completely random, if my salary changed from year to year, then I might as well do what I want to do, and there is no societal pressure to do something else.
Rita?
I'm totally following Derek in saying like, well, maybe that actually does that. So for me, the key of that moral question is, as a society, what do we do with this knowledge that we have different talents? Do we explore it? Do we exploit it? Or do we say, okay, everything's ruled by economy, so you want to explore what's most valuable. You don't want to explore what your talents are. And this brings me back to hope, because I think it's more dangerous for society to be hopeless than to have hope, even if it's unreal. And I really love valuing that, and this is why I don't mind Ronaldo earning so much.
Iemand die 80 miljoen per jaar verdient, die merkt het heus niet als dat maar 40 miljoen is. Of zelfs 10, denk ik eigenlijk. Dus die 70 miljoen per jaar kun je volgens mij heel mooi gebruiken om die verliezers te helpen. Om de mensen die het lastig hebben te helpen. En ik denk vooral, ja, zo'n gesprek als dit, daar hoop je dan dat het uitkomt dat iedereen dat met me eens is.
Although I feel like there's natural selection and it should be brought forward, I feel like there should be just some gaps that we keep, rather than trying to get everyone to an equal level where you like kind of get a bit lazy and you're like, well, you know, someone's going to take care of me. That's not really helping anyone.
Tristan.
Well, I'm curious, if we take the example that is reality and the top 8 people in the world were to completely disregard the bottom 50%, you just say they don't exist anymore, then your society's gone. When you've got that much wealth, that much power, you've won the race and have thousands of times more than everybody else, and you wish to be at the top of this society, it is your responsibility to some extent to take care of it. You're at the top of it. If you're the parent of the household, so to speak, you still owe something to the people that are living with you.
I agree.
Go ahead.
I think you should be grateful if you're born with the talent and if you're able to do, because the top 8% or those people, they've gotten there because of the other people, obviously. They didn't get there by themselves. So I think they should be grateful and empathetic to the ones.
Assume Ronaldo is grateful, empathetic towards the losers, towards the...
And pays taxes.
And pays taxes,
I assume that.
Does that make it finally morally deserving to earn so much more than a teacher?
Well, then he still makes more money, but he gives a lot more back. So it's a little fairer, yeah. But that's a good question. Whether he should still make that amount of money, probably not.
Well,
probably
whether
not.
But Sergio's question, I think, is whether he deserves.
Yeah, no,
like
I don't think so.
From a moral standpoint, does that change that?
No, he doesn't.
What matters most in like all these discussions, I think, is that how bad are the people doing that don't have money? We keep talking about money as if it's the most valuable thing and that's what we have to share. But as long as people are healthy, they can live and they can do what they want, then I think it's okay for him to have so much money. I wouldn't be happy to gain $80 million a year. It wouldn't be my goal. But if everybody gets something and it's okay, they can live, they can survive, and they're sort of happy, then it's not his responsibility, to be honest.
All right, we've had a very lively discussion, which has not ended, I can see, about who deserves what, about whether Ronaldo deserves to make 2,000 times what a school teacher makes. And we've heard a lot of arguments on both sides. Some have been arguments about utility, the value that the society places on football playing as compared to social work or teaching? What will make the society better off in terms of utility, the market value? So that's been one consideration. That's one principle that has been lying behind some of the arguments we've heard. A second argument a second principle we've heard a lot about is fairness. Is it fair that Ronaldo makes all that money, even though he is providing value to the people who go to see him play? Is it fair? And the answer to that seems to depend on the opportunities, whether the opportunities are available to everyone to become a great soccer player, a great football player. But then there's a third question that we've been wrestling with. It seems to be not only about utility and fairness, but also about desert, moral desert. Who deserves what? What attitudes should those who land on top have toward their success? And what attitudes should they have toward those at the bottom? What attitudes should those who are disadvantaged have toward their condition? We hear a lot in politics these days, in democracies around the world, about anger and resentment of working and middle classes toward elites. That's a potent force in contemporary politics, a sense of anger and resentment. And partly it has something to do with the rising inequality that we've seen in recent decades, the growing gap between rich and poor. But if you listen to the discussion that we've had, there's reason to think that it's also about something else. It's not just that working and middle class people feel that the system, that the growing inequality is unfair, but also that it is undeserved, that it doesn't correspond to moral desert, to people's true contributions to the society. Back in the days of the ancient Greek political philosophers, when they talked about distributive justice, they weren't mainly concerned with income and wealth. They were concerned with the distribution of offices and honors, the distribution of recognition. This principle of desert, who deserves what, reminds us that debates about equality and inequality, about who contributes what, are not only about utility and fairness. They're also about social recognition, about social esteem, about the attitudes we have and the values we place on the contributions of school teachers as well as football players. And so the debate continues, but I think it's worth noticing that the debate about distributive justice, as we've heard, is not just about utility and fairness. It's also about honor, recognition, and social esteem. We've not resolved the question of how to distribute the good things in life, but it's one of the questions that is right at the heart of contemporary debates among democratic citizens.
In hoeverre is het eerlijk dat men heel rijk is? In hoeverre is het eerlijk dat men heel arm is? En ik denk dat dat is nog een topic wat mij denk ik de rest van de dag bezig gaat houden. Van ik heb een talent, ik heb een heel groot talent. Maar is dat wel eerlijk dat ik dat talent heb? En doe ik dan wel op dit moment het juiste met mijn talent?
Als je heel succesvol bent door een talent dat je hebt gekregen, dan blijft voor mij nog steeds de vraag, hoe ga je dan met andere mensen om? Zonder dat je jezelf gaat verexcuseren daarvoor. Dat vind ik moeilijk.
I feel that a race or talent to be used as a metaphor is quite correct, because you just can't live in a society where everyone is equal.
I think it is very important for people to talk to each other. We live in a time where everybody doesn't want to talk, they want to sit in front of a screen for whatever it's worth. It has its positives and its negatives, but one of the negatives is that people have disconnected from each other, they don't talk as much, they don't debate. And debating about important subjects as economical inequality is a very important thing to take us to the next step. How do we expect to move further as a society if we live as individuals only?
If you would like to join in the debate, please go online to therightthingtodo.nl and tell us what you think.